Hello everyone, welcome to the first video about the Extreme Reactors mod. This will be part 1 of the 2 series. In the second part I will cover the turbines. Today we will walk through the full mod about the ores, the reactor build, the fluidizers, coolants, etc. Let's start! Okay, so the first thing you need to know about the Extreme Reactors mod is the yellorium ore. This ore is going to be your fuel and will be used in various craftings such as reactor casings, etc. You can find it underground as a form of deep slate, yellorite in stone and as a raw yellorium block. To gain the yellorium ingot, you just need to put it in the smelter or the furnace, and then it will switch into the yellorium ingot. An important thing to know is that when you are playing mod packs, often the yellorium ore will be switched into the uranium ore. This is an ore which is used, for example, in the mechanism mod and in various other mods. And uranium can be used interchangeably with yellorium, so there is no problem to just use uranium as your fuel. You just put it to the smelter and again it will become an ingot, a uranium ingot. Yellorium equals uranium. They can be used interchangeably. Now that we covered the ores and the ingots, we can go to the reactors. In the Extreme Reactors mod, you can create the basic reactor and the reinforced version of the reactor. What differs these reactors? The basic reactor is cheaper to make, although it produces less energy. And of course, the reinforced reactor is more expensive to craft and make, but produces much more energy. Maximum size of the reinforced reactor is 32 by 32 by 48 blocks, so you don't have to worry that you will run out of energy. So if you plan to create a larger amount of energy, start directly from the reinforced reactor. As for the reactor construction, you need a few basic parts: the reactor casing, the reactor glass, the reactor controller, the reactor energy power tap, which will output your energy, and a reactor access point. It can be solid and fluid. In this case it is solid. I am just gonna put some ingots there. As you can see, it doesn't matter if it is uranium or yellorium, and it is going directly inside. I can also put them here. Of course, the same pattern applies to the construction of the basic reactor. You need controller, you need energy power tap, you need fuel port, solid or fluid. And an important thing to know, at the top of every reactor, both reinforced and basic, you need to put control rods above the fuel rods. When you do it, the reactor is ready to work. You need to also know that the reactor glass is optional. You can cover it all with the reactor casing and it won't matter. What's important is that the edges of the reactor have to be reactor casings. In order to create reactor casing, you need graphite, iron and sand for the basic version, and for the reinforced one you need some more resources. It will be much more expensive. You need block of iron, graphite and steel. Graphite ingot is made simply by smelting coal in a furnace. As for the steel, the process of creation is a bit more complicated. If you are using a mechanism mod, and I think if you are playing the Extreme Reactors mod, you have to use the mechanism mod. You have to put iron and coal into the metallurgic infuser, the metallurgic infuser will make from the simple iron ingot an enriched iron, and then you have to put the coal again, And this process will make you a steel dust, which then you have to smelt. As you can see, this will give us steel ingot. So the reinforced reactor casings are much more expensive, but I think it's worth it. But definitely you will need a lot of iron and a lot of coal to make even a small reactor such as this. Of course, I am going to show you the crafting of the other components of the reactor. As you can see, reactor glass is simple. You just add glass to the reinforced or basic casing. To make fuel rod, you need to have items like this, control rod, energy tap, and access port. In a shortcut, you are going to need a lot of the reinforced blocks. In a shortcut, you are going to need a lot of reactor casings for this. Unfortunately, the same crafting recipes applies to the basic reactor. Instead of the advanced reactor casings, you are going to use the basic ones. But still, the recipes are quite expensive. Now we can talk about the coolants. As you can see, in this reactor I am using a different one, a fluid one, and in this one I am using simply a block of diamonds. The Extreme Reactors mod, you can use various items as a coolants. Here are some of the best ones. Important thing to know, I am talking about the basic version of the mod, not included in any mod pack, for example ATN10 or a different one. If you want to know if some liquid or a block is able to be a coolant, you have to enable advanced tooltips and then cover the block with your mouse and you will see Extreme Reactors. This block or fluid can be used as a radiation moderator inside a reactor. The same applies to the block of diamond. And the best coolant available, Reactor. Now I will show you how to make Reactor, the best coolant available in the game. In order to make Reactor, you have to create another Extreme Reactors mod machine, a multi-block structure called Fluidizer. To use Fluidizer, you need to create 4x3x3 casing, which is going to include the output port, the solid injector, and another solid or fluid injector. Important thing to know, you don't have to create 3 separate fluidizers. You can just make 2 solid injectors, 2 fluid injectors and switch them. As in order to make red tritium, we have to mix Cryom Z and Tangerium. To make Cryom Z, we have to put snow and redstone into the fluidizer. As you can see, you are injecting them directly in the injectors, the solid ones. Then you turn on the fluidizer and it is going to create our Cryom Z. I suggest you store the fluids in the tanks. In order to make Tangerium, you need an anglesite and ender pearls. Anglesite ore can be found in the end dimension. As you can see, you are injecting anglesite here, ender pearl in the other side, and it is going to generate our Tangerium. When you have both Cryom Z and Tangerium, switch your solid injectors to the fluid ones and attach both Cryom Z and Tangerium on the opposite sides. And the output is going to be red tritium. A very important thing to know, if you are going to fill the reactor with the fluids, you need to put red tritium in every place. As you can see, every block is one bucket of the coolant. As for the crafting, the fluidizer casing is a bit expensive. You need a lot of yellorium ingot and iron ingot. The controller is created in the following way. The fluid injector, the output port, and the solid injector. In order to make fluidizers, you need to go both to the nether and to the end. But in my opinion, it is totally worth it, just for the immersion of having the best coolant available in the game. Of course, if you are playing on some mod pack, your coolants may differ, and you may even have an access to much better coolant than the red frisium, but it is your choice which coolant you are going to use. I think that's all for today. In the future I am going to cover the turbines. Stay tuned for another video. Bye!